look at the pension issue from a budgetary side. CalPERS, CalSTARS, and UCRS manage the majority of California's public pensions. All of them are calling for a 7.5% annual fund growth to meet their projected needs for pensioners. However, CalPERS has only posted a 1% return, CalSTARS a 1.8% return, far short of what they need to meet their goals. Stanford University's study has shown that all three pension funds have a $425 billion deficit that the state of California needs to make up. How would you address the pension deficit, Mr. Phillips?
That's so hard because that's how we got into this mess. And we got into this mess again because good people promised things that we couldn't deliver. We need to, if a city can't afford it, to continue to pay it. If they have to go through bankruptcy, they have to go through bankruptcy. But it's a challenge when you're in office and you've promised people things and now you can't deliver. So that the next group that comes along, they're going to say you're not the one that's able to deliver. So how do you fix that whole situation? How do you fix it? You have to go back to the groups and renegotiate. You have to go back to the groups and say, this is what we truly are working with. But at the heart of that, we need to find out how much money we're really working with. We need to audit the books and to find out where our money's at and how much is in each account. $400, $500 billion? It's huge. Where do we come up with that money? How did we get to a position where we promise so much but can deliver so little? And that's been our problem with our politicians. They keep on promising, but they cannot deliver. Thank you.
Well, let me just say that I didn't promise, you didn't promise, but we own it. Whether we own it directly or we own it indirectly, and we've got to figure out a way to deal with pensions and to right the financial ship. I mean, the three biggest stressors on our general fund budget are pensions, prisons, and debt service. I think, is 7.5% rate realistic? No. I mean, historically, believe it or not, the rate has averaged 7.5%, but I think we're in a new normal. I mean, we had the savings loan bubble, the derivatives bubble, the dot-com bubble, and then the real estate bubble. So we had one bubble bailing out another bubble for a long time, and I think now we're in the new normal. Where we're going to return to normal types of returns. So I do believe that CalPERS and CalSTRS and the others are going to have to take a look at what their returns are and come up with more realistic numbers. I'm not sure they're exactly where the Stanford study is. I think that was down around 4% or whatever, but there's got to be somewhere in between. I think we're going to have to bite the bullet and increase our contributions, both state contributions and employee contributions, because where I do agree with Mr. Phillips is we can't keep passing this on to our children. We have got to right our financial ship. We've got to manage our money well and move forward. If not, we're not going to have the California that we want. And as these expenses just increase and the debt increases, that means we end up cutting vital programs like education more and more. And I do believe that public education and higher education in California has been the true economic engine of this state.
All right, Ms. Buchanan. A recent report estimates that within 35 years, retired public employee health care benefit costs will exceed the entire amount of the state of California budget. The pension reform bill did not address retiree health care. What does the state need to do to address this issue?
Well, as the governor has said, he understands that this is an area that we need to take on, and I think you'll see us dealing with this in the next session. My own belief is that ultimately we probably should be transitioning from a state-run healthcare program to transitioning to having all of our employees on Medicare, because I think that basically creates a level field with everyone in private industry and takes risk away from the state. Now that doesn't mean it's good for the federal government, because that we all know that where Social Security is fine actuarially for 30-something years, Medicare, because of rising medical expenses, the bill comes due there much faster. But I do believe that we need to take a look and figure out how we're going to transition our plans to those that are much more actuarially sound.
Mr. Phillips.
So, one of the things that I hear a lot from people that are in office is that we'll look into it and we'll take it on later. And we are at later. We are at the point now where it's at the breaking point. We need to start making some tough decisions. The tough decisions have not been made. Medical pension, this is something that people will require as they age, as they go through life. It's a right that's been promised to them. But yet, we're at a point now where we can't afford it. The 8th largest economy in the world can't afford to pay for folks that need medical care. That's insane. That's insane. And we continue to talk about doing it later, fix it later. We can look into it. We can have a committee. What we need to do is we need to find out what the real numbers are and how much money we truly are working with. I keep on going back to this because as our pension costs become so burdensome, the CEOs leave the state, they take the jobs with them, they take the taxable income with them, and now we're left where we cannot afford the basic programs and the needs that we need to provide for our citizens, for the people who have paid their fair share and have been here and have paid into the system. Yet we can't manage to do that. We want to talk about it later. Well, now is the time. We need to have adult conversations about what we're going to do now and put together a strategic plan and enforce it and enact it now. Thank you.
Mr. Phillips, earlier on in the debate, you touched on this issue. California uses a special blend of gas not used anywhere else in the country. Yet California has not had any new refineries built since the 1980s. Since the 1980s, despite not having any new ones built, we've closed over 20 refineries in the state. How would you propose California address the gasoline problem? Thankfully today, driving here, I saw gas prices are down a little bit.
It's down because they went to the winter blend. And having those two different blends means that you cannot buy gas from out of state during the summertime. So you see these spikes that we had $4.84 a gallon, and now that they're starting to stabilize, now that they're into the winter blends. There needs to be a blend of gas that meets EPA requirements and not have a separate standard for the state. We need to be able to go across state lines and buy gas, have gas that's imported to us, without having to worry about if it meets a specific emissions for California alone. It's been, our regular people that go to work, having this increase in tax and gas is almost, it's punitive to the regular working person. By having those at 30% or 40% on top of their price for gas, it's punitive for the regular guy that's going to work. We need to get rid of the blends, and we need to open up and build some new refineries. We need a strategic long-term energy plan for the federal government and for the state to be part of that. We have oil that's off our shore, but we also have some of the most expensive real estate in the world along our shore. Some of the most pristine. We need to find a way of balancing the two. Utilize our resources that we have and provide for the future. Thank you.
Ms. Buchanan.
Well, the recent spike was actually complicated by the explosion at the Richmond, the Chevron refinery in Richmond, and I do support the governor's ruling or directive to switch to the winter blend sooner. And I do believe that we've got to find a way to upgrade refineries like Richmond. We've been in a battle there for a long time, and not getting it solved means that we have refineries that are more polluting instead of less polluting. It means jobs. It means our ability to produce gas for California. But let me say this about gasoline prices. Oil is traded on the world market. I don't care whether you're Chevron, BP, Conoco, Phillips, who you are, oil's traded on the world market. And when you have countries like China, I was there in 1985, and I didn't see a car in Beijing. Now it's one of the most polluted cities in the world. So when you have countries like China with 1.4 billion people who are rapidly entering the world economy, or India with over 1 billion people, and they're all competing for these commodities, the prices are going to increase. And I believe the price of oil is going to continue to increase. And as the United States, we're not going to be able to manipulate or change the market to bring that down. And as all of us recover from this global recession and demand increases, I think you're going to see prices continue to go up. So I think the real question is going to be, how do we begin to do more to convert to alternative fuels and energy, and limit our reliance on oil? And we're starting to do that with respect to electricity, with clean energy. But I think we need to do that more with automobiles as well.
All right, this is just a simple yes or no answer. See if we can get politicians to answer in one word. Proposition 8, gay marriage. Did you support or oppose Proposition 8?
I opposed it.
Mr. Phillips.
The question of whether or not
One-word
that I would
answer.
support gay rights is not up to me. The citizens of the state of California voted yes on Proposition 8, which was
One-word
no.
answer. Did you personally support or oppose Proposition 8?
I supported Proposition 8.
Thank you.